Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the FV037 podcast. I'm your host, Sunny Burns.
And I'm your co-host, Sunray Burns.
So we are in a brand new decade. 2020 is upon us.
Right. Happy New Year's, everyone.
Happy New Year. So we're actually recording this on January 1. So the first day of the new year. Lots of excitement this year. We're excited to go over some of that with you. But today we're talking about goals, habits, and life planning. So it's going to be a compilation of a lot of things I love. You know, I love forward thinking, strategizing, and, you know, living intentionally with your life. And it all starts with, you know, measuring where you're at, how you did, and planning forward. So we're going to do a lot of that today. We're going to share a lot of resources, a lot of strategies, a lot of things that have worked for us, specific examples through our own lives. And I think all in all, it'll be a pretty good motivator and a good outline for how to plan your own lives, how to set goals for this coming year, and create some new habits and kick out some bad habits, and how we wrap that all together to have a successful 2020. So without further ado, let's get to the show.
You're listening to the FV037 podcast. If you're looking to raise your family with intention, gain financial independence, and live a life of true freedom, you're in the right place. Join us as we explore together how to create thriving families, because strong families are the cornerstone for a world at peace.
In the spirit of New Year, a lot of people are thinking about the past year that's just finished and the future that's about to begin. And what comes along with that, naturally, is the idea of setting goals. And this is something that's been around for centuries and something that people really gain a lot of value from when they start out their year with objectives and goals in mind. But one thing that's pretty common is that we don't always stick to those goals.
Everyone signs up for the gym on New Year's. You know, the gym's packed and flooded, and I'm just like, oh, this is crazy. And then you just wait a month and a half, and the gym's back to where it was.
Right. And it begs the question, why does that happen? If so many of us feel setting goals is such an important part of our life, why is it so hard for us to actually stick to them? So we've done a lot of thinking and reflecting on that, also some reading to that topic.
Right. Two books that I've been reading recently that are going to inspire a lot of the ideas in this episode are Atomic Habits by James Clear and Living Forward. So both of those, we're definitely going to tie in a lot of those ideas into this episode, and how we did this year's goal planning, habit forming, and an outlook and examination of what our life plans actually are and how these goals and habits are going to shape them into the ideal life we'd like to lead.
Right. And to that point, I think that a lot of times we set goals that are too lofty or too unclear, that you don't actually know how to break them down into quantifiable steps you can take and see your progress and move towards a goal. So we're going to get into 3 ways that you can create goals that are actually practical, and that at the end of the year, when you reflect back, you can look at with pride and feel like, oh, I actually did accomplish what I set out to do.
So you really want to spend some decent amount of time going into this goal setting process. You know, a lot of experts recommend setting a whole day aside, or at least, you know, from 8 to 5 p.m., locking yourself away, getting away from your normal surroundings, you know, maybe go into a cafe, go rent out a hotel room, and get this done. But anyway, before getting right into goal setting, you should really reflect on your previous year. For us, you know, we made a ton of different things. You know, we made a vision board this past year. We made, you know, every year we do like a 5-year snapshot of what we want. I've done in the past this sort of status goal chart where you pretty much write down on a big poster board all the goals you have, and you kind of look at it daily, and you put a little dot next to each goal whenever you think about it or take a step towards accomplishing that goal. And some of these goals could be things like, you know, starting a podcast, like starting the FV037 podcast. And every day I took action towards that goal, I put a little dot there until I finally started it. And, you know, there's like 12 dots next to that podcast thing and I crossed it out. So things like that, there's different tools you can use if you're a visual person using that vision board. And for us, it was as simple as creating a Microsoft Word document and pasting in Google images of things we wanted. We have a minivan on there, which we actually bought just a couple of weeks ago in 2019.
Squeaked it into the year.
Yep. We have images of our house, a dream house that we're hoping, backs up the woods, has a stream running through it. So there's a picture of a house like that. There's a picture of people, bicycling, our family bicycling, because we want to be active and bicycle a lot and just be an adventurous family. So there's a lot of different tools that you can use to kind of help you achieve these goals that you set for the year. And those are just some of the 3 that I like to use. Some are better than others. But before, really getting started with setting goals for the new year for 2020, you really want to reflect how you did in the previous year. And the best thing you can do is look at your 2019 goals. If you still have that paper you wrote it on, if you had that digital document you saved it on. So it's great to have one place to do it. I haven't necessarily been that great at it throughout the years, but we always, write down our goals and put it up somewhere. We tape it up so we can definitely see it. So we have, paper copies of what our goals were. So this year, I had 10 major goals. One goal was to lose 20 pounds by spring. So hit my 155, which I did. We were both on the keto diet. We were able to achieve that. I had another goal to teach Valen how to handstand. I'd say I'm halfway successful on that. Valen's proud of his handstand, but I wouldn't say it was at the caliber of what my goal mind was. Anyway, it's pretty good. We had another goal to buy another property. Succeeded in that. Have baby number 3. We're almost there. Didn't come 2 weeks early, otherwise we would have achieved that goal. But I'd give that a halfway mark there. Create at least 12 blog posts. I definitely failed on that, but I did create. I snuck in one blog post just a couple days ago, so definitely check that out. It's a really good one. So hop on to famvestor.com/blog. You can check that out before I really make the announcement for it, but it's definitely a good blog post. Run a marathon. I actually completed that one. Start speaking business or personal finance in schools. I really wanted to do that goal, but I took some action but never actually got into a school to speak to students on personal finance. Start the Break Free podcast. Didn't do that, but I did start the Famvestor podcast. So, I achieved like 6 out of the 10 goals, which is fairly decent. I'm pretty happy about that. I think if I had created better habits, which I plan to do this year, I would have been a little more successful than I was last year. But we're going to get into those habits. So we did some of that reflection, but there's also great questions you can ask yourself if you didn't have those written goals from the previous year to reflect back on this current year.
Right. And even if you did have a list of written goals, it's always good to look at it, see whether you succeeded or not, and then ask yourself some pertinent questions that are going to make you dig deep into why things took the turns they took.
Or it maybe even if it matters to you anymore. Like a couple of those goals that I didn't achieve, it's just like, okay, I'm ready to give those up. They don't need to be 2020 goals. I'm willing to get rid of those.
Right. You grow and you develop and you change over time, and that's okay. Just because you set the goal in the beginning of the year, you're maybe a different person at the end of the year. You don't need to feel committed to stick with it if it really doesn't serve your purpose anymore. But some things to consider thinking about are in the categories of success and growth. Maybe you want to talk or think about 2 or 3 of your biggest accomplishments for the year. What were your successes? What were you proud of? What moments stand out to you as exemplary moments in your year? Perhaps 2 or 3 of your biggest failures for the year. Why were they failures, and what can you learn from them? Also considering biggest obstacles you may have overcome.
For me, thinking back about like biggest successes, I feel like I'm really proud of, starting our Airbnb. It was a huge labor of love, of effort, creating this thing from scratch. And I think it really came out great. Actually, that's what the blog post is about, so check that out. But it's been hugely successful and been very proud of that. So that was something I've been reflecting on. Been very proud of Valen's swimming development, like him swimming, his ability now from where it was at the beginning of the year. So, I wrote all these things down in a letter to myself, just reflecting back, what am I proud of? I'm proud that Valen has been, coloring in the lines with, he's gotten into Pokemon, and he's been coloring his Pokemon printables that I print him out. And that's been really cool to see him diligently sit down and do concentrate, and really enjoy it too, but developing that skill of fine penmanship. So.
Right. And even though it's something that we ourselves have not done, it's our children doing it, we have fostered the learning and created the opportunity and teach them how to do some of these things.
And it's cool to
Yeah, I mean, for me, I'm super proud that we've potty trained Alvin.
Right.
That was a big one, and it was a challenge, but it's something we've succeeded in, and that's a really rewarding accomplishment for the year.
Right. And it's cool to, because all these things stack throughout the year. And sometimes you don't realize, how much you've done throughout this year. We bought our third property in this year of 2019, this third rental property. And I honestly had that slip my mind because I was all the way back in August. But it's cool, Sunmarie and I both sat down. We started going through the year, what did we do? And it's cool to kind of see your growth, see your gains, see what's happened throughout the year and really reflect on it. And you got to make the time to do that. You got to start asking yourself those questions and get yourself there. We thought about all the places we vacationed to this year. We went to Outer Banks, we went to Florida, we went to Ohio, we went to Great Wolf Lodge, we had a Baby Moon Mohonk Mountain House. We did a ton of camping trips this year. So just reflecting on all those adventures and taking the time to do it, I think, is very important.
I think another good question to ask yourself is, where did you spend too much time or too much resources in your year, and were they really beneficial to you, how you spent your time? For instance, for me, when I reflected on that, I think maybe I spent a little too much time on my phone. That's a classic one. It's a mental escape, it's relaxation, or you make an excuse for a reason you need to go in there, but could you have allocated that time to something more wholesome, more productive that could have led to greater growth and development? So just creating that awareness, I definitely noticed that in myself, and it's given me a new resolve to work on that in the coming year. Also thinking about, what did you feel you fell short on or impacted your life, perhaps in the negative? For me, thinking on that, I felt scheduling. I've never been really great with keeping a schedule. And looking back at my year, I feel like, maybe if I scheduled my time better, I could have used some of those hours a little more productively with the children, with myself, to achieve more personal goals. That when I look at my goal list and I ask myself, why didn't I actually get that done? I could think of a reason why, and it's because maybe I need to improve on time management.
Yeah, so definitely reflecting on all aspects of your year, of your life, and what you want to have changed for this year. And a big part of that will be the habits section that we're going to go into a little later.
Right. So we've identified 3 characteristics of good goal setting that you can use throughout the year to make your goals quantifiable and accomplishable. The first characteristic is the classic goal planning, objective goal setting, where you have a quantifiable end result in mind. For example, I want to run a marathon, or I would like to buy a house, or I would like to save $10,000 in this year. Something that has a definitive end goal, and it's something very concrete that you can actually take action steps towards, not broad and lofty, and you're not really sure how to build off of it. And one way of doing this is by creating what's called a SMART goal.
So SMART stands for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time-bound. And it really is the smart way to make goals. People make goals all the time, like I'm going to lose 200 pounds, or I'm going to get 6-pack abs. You don't want to say, I'm going to get 6-pack abs, because there's no action plan to how to do it. So if you were going to make it a SMART goal, you'd be like, I'm going to do 15 crunches every day right when I wake up, or right when I'm brewing my cup of coffee, I'm gonna do 15 crunches every day. And by making that specific and making it, measurable, did I do 15 sit-ups today? Making it achievable, it's realistic, it's relevant. The abs is going to translate to the six pack, and it's time bound. Every single day, right when I wake up, I'm going to do those 15 sit-ups.
Right. And something you can definitely wrap your mind around. This is going to take me 10 minutes in my morning to get this done, and then I will have made one more step towards my goal every single day.
Right. And again, we're trying to wrap in the habits. We haven't gotten into that, but later we're going to go into habits. And you already have the habit of every morning I get up and I brew the cup of coffee. So you tie it into that. And so I have this habit of brewing the coffee. And maybe you leave yourself a note on the coffee cup, 15 abs or 15 sit-ups. And you tie they call it habit stacking, or at least James Clear does in his Atomic Habits book. He calls it habit stacking. You take preformed habits and somehow you tie in the new habit. Anyway, back to goals. So I want to share with you some SMART goals that we made to inspire you to hopefully make some goals for yourself. So for me, I had ACL surgery last year, and for me, it was very important to have a goal in mind because, it's like 10 months to recovery, to full recovery. So I was like, I did a marathon this year. Let me do a triathlon this next year. So I signed up in August 2020 for an Olympic triathlon. So I have a deadline, time deadline, very specific. I'm going to do a 1,500 meter swim, almost a mile swim, a 24-mile bike ride, and a 10K run. So very specific, the things that I need to achieve to get there. We have a goal to buy a home by the end of summer. We set a deadline by summer. We're out of our current residence and we're moving somewhere with either a backyard that backs towards woods for the kids, or that's next door to like a YMCA or a beach or a park or something like that. So very specific, and it has to be in bicycle distance from my work. So very specific criteria for our goal of buying a house and the time deadline for that.
Set time and set objective.
Right. I have a goal to take Valen kayak camping next year, and I already set out an email to some dad friends of mine to take their own kids too. And I said, hey, tentative date, August 21st, 2020, we're going kayak camping. So just setting goals like that, another goal, see 54 shooting stars with the kids this summer. Just promoting, more camping, and I booked a trip to Dark Skies, Pennsylvania, which is a campground that I hear really great things about, and it's supposed to be super dark and the best place to see shooting stars. And it's during a meteor shower, and it's supposed to be like no moon either, so it should be ideal conditions as long as the weather holds out. We're seeing 54 shooting stars or more, so we'll see if we hit that. But setting cool, fun goals like that. Any goals from you, Sunmarie, that you want to share?
I want to teach Alvin the ABCs for the year. That's an objective there. And Valen, I want him to be able to write all his letters and work on reading. Hopefully be doing beginning level reading by the end of the year. So those are two things. I have the curriculum set out, and I just need to follow them, break it out day by day, step by step. Those are my objectives there.
And for us is monthly date nights, where every 15th of the month or thereabouts, we're going to have a date night, just you and me.
Speaking of date nights, that kind of segues into the next category of goal setting, which is habit forming. Sometimes the things that you want to achieve in your goals are actually more of habits than end result goals. For instance, the date nights. It's something that we hope to perpetuate throughout our life. There isn't like a set amount of time we want to do this for. We want it to be just something we want to incorporate into our life moving forward. So it's something we want to create a habit for.
Right. Success is usually achieved by, daily habits, not once in a lifetime transformations. So It's these daily things that you work on that make the most impact in your lives. And that's, all about the habits that you include in your lives and the ones you intentionally remove from your life.
Right. And I think it's a very important aspect of goal setting that sometimes gets overlooked. Sometimes we get caught up just on those big objectives, those big end results that you work towards and achieve. But a lot of times what really helps us in our life is working on habit formation. So we wanted to talk a little bit about doing that.
Right. And I think that's key, so everyone has goals, every Olympian who enters the Olympics has the goal to get a gold medal, but only some of them achieve it. And it's all about the habits you set and actually moving towards those goals. anyone can set goals, but it's, the people who are diligent about creating the habits and making those a part of their lives, continually checking off a progress, a little dot towards their goal and completing it, that get it done and are successful.
A few examples of habit forming goal setting could include things like, I'm going to start packing healthy lunches daily, or I am going to go swimming with the kids on weekends, or I'm going to start taking cold showers daily for the health benefits. Those are little habits that you decide to purposefully incorporate into your daily routine. And they're things that once you do them enough, I think they say you need to do something 30 times in order for it to start to become a habit. Mm-hmm. And when you do it enough, it starts to become a part of your identity. And it's something that's a lot more sustainable. We last year ran a half marathon, and an interesting observation I made is that going into the project, I had an end result goal, an objective, and that was to complete the half marathon. So I did a lot of training. I went running 3 times a week for, working myself up to like 6 miles a day, 8 miles a day. And I was basically a runner, but I didn't see myself as a runner because I saw just the end result goal. And when I finally reached it, I saw no more need to go running anymore, and my running stopped. Whereas Suncook likes to run. So he has this daily or weekly habit where he runs.
Because I am a runner.
So
twice a week I run. Well, I have, but ACL surgery, I'm still getting out of that habit, which is very painful. I feel this urge that, for the last 10 years, I've been running at least twice a week. And I feel that need to do it. And it's actually, causing some distress, but I made it a goal to just hit the gym twice a week, because even if I can't run, I can still do do crunches, do pull-ups, do sit-ups, do dumbbells, all that. So there's no reason not to get some exercise in, and I think that's all I really need to feel like I'm in sync with the integrity in my life.
Right. And I guess the main point I wanted to draw out here in that example was that depending on how you form your goal in your mind will determine whether it becomes a short-term goal or a lifelong goal, and how you're going to carry it forward.
Right. There's outcome-based habits and then identity-based habits. You want to make an identity-based habits, like you said. You want to say, hey, I'm a runner, and that's why I'm running. It's not like, hey, I'm running to achieve this, goal to run a 5K, which is nice too. But, it's so, like, if you're a smoker and you want to quit smoking, you don't want to say, and someone offers you a cigarette, you don't want to say, no thanks, I'm trying to quit. You want to say, no thanks, I am not a smoker. There's a lot more power in that I am not a smoker,
It's tied to your identity.
Tied to your identity.
Right.
Right.
So those are great goals to also incorporate into your yearly plan.
So talking about identity, we all want to change, or we have this idealized image of who we want to be. So how do we change? Change is a 2-step process. You want to decide who you want to be, and then you got to prove it to yourself. And you can prove it to yourself on a daily basis. On whatever you choose to do that day, you're either proving yourself that, hey, I am a runner, or you're not. Did you go for that run, or did you not? And it's an iterative process. If you prove yourself more than not, then yes, you can say I am a runner. But maybe, this week you didn't go running, and the next week you didn't go running, you're not a runner anymore. So every time you read a book, you're a reader. So a great way to start new habits is actually to make a list of all your current habits, because you want to examine, exactly what you do on a daily basis and where you can plug in new habits and maybe take away some bad habits that you currently have. So what I actually ended up doing, and I'm not completely done with the process, but was to list every single habit I have. And it's been a multi-day process. At first I listed maybe 30 things that I do on a daily basis, but now I'm all the way up to 41. And it's things like, okay, I'll just start, habit number 1, hit snooze in the morning. And then habit number 2, turn off alarm clock, check my phone, brush teeth, cold shower, think about what to bring, get dressed, pack lunch, leave for car, drive to van pool spot, sit in 45 minutes in the van. And under each habit, you want to list, you can put a plus sign if it's a good habit, minus sign if it's a bad habit, and just nothing if it's neutral. So I'm doing this in Excel. If you want to follow along on screen and you're watching on YouTube, here's my habits. And then so I make this list of 41 habits, and then like I was sharing about habit stacking, maybe you want to have new habits, new good habits. So one thing for me that I want to do from now on, a new habit I want to form is to unload the dishwasher every morning. So right next to the habit of brushing teeth, right after I brush teeth, I want to unload the dishwasher. And that means, we turn the dishwasher on at night, and come in the morning time, I want to unload it so that throughout the day, Sunmarie and the kids can just put the dirty dishes into the dishwasher, and then the sink doesn't get flooded with dirty dishes. And then at night, we can just turn it on, and then in the morning, I unload the dishwasher, and then the cycle continues. A very simplistic way of eliminating the dish problem. So many dishes, man, it's crazy.
Yes. If we could streamline that process, it'll make it a lot more practical in our life.
Right. So that's just one improvement that I want to do, one new habit I want to incorporate. So one new thing that we did this year is life planning. And this is actually almost more important to do first, like the first step, before even goal setting and habit forming. You want to know what direction you're going. And then from there, you can start building everything out. And we actually discovered life planning through our episode 27 with Rocky Lalvani, where we talk about, life planning and creating purpose in your life. And once you, determine the purpose, determine where you want your life to be, it's much easier to determine how you're going to get there through these goals, through these habits you're forming.
Right. And another critical aspect to life planning is thinking about what impact do you want to create on the world or on the people who matter to you most? Your family, your coworkers, your spouse, anyone who is in your sphere of influence. What do you hope that they will see in you, in your accomplishments? So an interesting way to do this kind of planning, an exercise you can do is either write a eulogy for yourself.
Right. Living Forward is a book that we're currently reading and almost finished with. And that was the book Rocky Lalvani mentioned. And that talks all about, creating a life plan and doing that by writing a eulogy for yourself. What do you want everyone to say about you, after you die? If you could hear what they said, what
are you hoping that they will say was your trademark for your life?
Right. And just to give you an example, online on livingforwardbook.com, they have examples of other people's life plans. And here's one about Tom. Tom was known as a family man whose mission in life was to positively impact the lives of children. He and his wife Lisa made their children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren priorities in their lives. Lisa was the love of his life, and they spent many days together in love and laughter, both as a couple and with their amazing family. Tom's 3 children had him wrapped around their respective fingers from the day they were born. He coached many of their basketball games. And, it goes on and on about what he wants them to say. He wants them to know that he was a family man. And so knowing what's important based on, what
you're hoping will be your lasting legacy.
Right, your lasting legacy. And then that's when you kind of can know, okay, so if I want to be known as a family man, I got to start coaching these basketball games. I got to start being in my children's lives and things like that. That starts to come out. You can start making those goals and objectives and habits from that.
And it helps you prioritize the things that are really important to you in life. There's so many goals you can set for your professional life, your personal life, your hobbies, your family, your community service. A lot of times, they can overshadow one another. So the benefit of doing something like a eulogy is really pulling back and just saying, well, what is the core identity, character trait that I feel is most important? If it's your family, then you've got to prioritize those particular goals more so than some of your other goals. And it'll help you set your life straight.
Right. And you should so we're actually, next week episode, we're talking with Kevin Basic, and he shares with us his eavesdrop letter. So it's not a eulogy letter. It's actually like just what he hopes to hear from other people. Like if he could just listen in on their conversation, what he hopes they would say. And it's for all different audiences in his life. He has a paragraph for his wife, what he wished his wife would say. Like he's an amazing husband, that he's fit, and he's attractive to her, and all this other stuff. He wished his daughters would say, and what he wished his coworkers would say, what he wished his clients would say, and all these important audiences in his life, his parents. He lists, a paragraph, a script of what he wished they would say, and from there, that's how he, he says he wants to make those scripts reality. How is he going to do that? And he goes from there to make those goals and objectives.
It helps him to carve out where he needs to create quantifiable goals and objectives to build towards that ideal.
Right. So it's a great way to kind of find out what is important in your life.
So we hope you enjoyed some of these tips and ideas on goal setting that we shared with you today. Hopefully it inspires you to go out there and really make a plan for your future and live the life that you're meant to live. We will be attaching some of our goals and resources to the show notes on this page. You'll be able to find it at fanbester.com/037 because this is going to be episode 37. And with that, we'd love to hear about some of your goal setting habits and healthy habits you have for creating the life that you want to live. So if you have anything that we haven't mentioned here and would like to share it, we would love to hear how you're doing.
So feel free to contact us by just emailing me at sunny@fanbester.com or going to the website on our contact page, and you can email or leave us a voicemail, and we'd be happy to hear your feedback. And we hope you guys have a great start to 2020, and let's all make it a great year together. Good luck, guys. Godspeed.